Panhard episode. Before we get stuck in, I think it's important to let you know that that side of the workshop isn't painted and this side is. It's just, I've got a load of stuff over there, so I have to swap it all over, so a bit of a ball ache. I'm getting outside concreted next week, so I'm going to paint this while they're doing that. And anyway, right, what's happening with this thing then? So let's get the video up. The last video that I put up where we sort of had a good look over the car and we tried to sort of decide, or at least get the information that we need to make a proper decision on its future. So the comments were polarizing, I think is the right word to use. They were interesting, and potentially I should have explained myself a little bit better on a few points, but I do want to address a couple of things. So many people saying that I should not bodge this car back on the road, rat rod it, and I should do a proper restoration. Now, I get the feeling that the people that have said that might not understand exactly what a full restoration of this car would involve, how many hours would have to go into it, and how much money, because I'd have to get many things professionally made to go onto this car, such as dash and interior, steering wheel, you know, loads of little bits that you might not think about, but to do a full restoration, you wouldn't do all that bodywork and then not have a nice dashboard, or not have a nice steering wheel, or, you know, not have the right lights. You know, you just wouldn't bother. It just doesn't make any sense. So you have to do the full thing, and that means a lot of money. Now, for example, right, the recent Car SOS, I don't know if you're familiar with that TV program over in the States, but a couple of great guys, Tim and Fuzz. Fuzz, who I kind of know, I've spoken to him quite a few times when I had my other scimitar and he was doing a fiberglass car and we got talking about it. Anyway, they've just done a Ford Mustang. Their recent episode was a Ford Mustang, and Fuzz let slip on social media that National Geographic had paid roughly for that car to go from what it was to the finished product, roughly £150,000, right? Now, £150,000 on a car where almost 99% of the stuff on that car is available. It's out there, it's on the shelf a lot of the times. You don't have to get anything made. You're going to have to do some little panel work here and there, of course you are, but if you want to buy a quarter panel, it's available. If you want to buy a boot floor, it's available. If you want to buy any floor sections, they're very available, you know, and that car still cost £150,000 for them to restore, you know. So I think we need to be realistic about what I can accomplish. You know, you're only watching one guy in a garage. There's no hidden team. You know, you've got to sort of realise this is one guy in a garage with a lot of other stuff going on. So what can we realistically achieve with this car? Now, I have made my decision on it. And yeah, I want to keep it. I want to rat rod it. I want to use this thing. I want to get it back on the road. I want the fire in its eyes to be bright and futureful. Is that a word? I don't know. But there's a couple of other things I need to address as well, such as people saying like, oh, don't put LEDs on it, you know, that's awful. Well, I should have probably explained myself a little bit better. You can buy these things now, right? Different coloured LEDs. And the idea is, see how all these are all a bit knackered and faded and stuff? That would live underneath there. I don't know if you can see that. That would live underneath there. So you won't actually see that, but what you'll get is a really safe, bright orange light. That's what I meant. I'm going to try and do as much to this car sympathetically as I can, because I understand there's a lot of you that don't want to see all rivets down the side and all that sort of stuff. And when I was going through that, I did realise that the sill was in two very, different parts. And there's an inside sill which looked like it had holes in it similar for strengthening, similar to like a Mazda MX-5 would, for example. So I'm going to have to do a lot of welding on those just to get that structure and everything there. But I still don't know what I'm going to do with some of the other holes like up there. We might do a different tactic to that, because I just don't want to spend the rest of my life welding this car. I'd rather get it driving safe, mechanically very, very excellent, electronically very, very excellent, and then use it, take it to some shows. Look at the rusty Panhard that's just turned up, that'd be dead cool. So that's my decision made, and today we're going to get stuck in to this. If you remember the second episode of this, we managed to get it driving. No, genuinely we did. Look, there's the throttle cable. We had a problem though. We managed to free up one gear selector cable. There's two gear selector cables, column shift. I couldn't free up the second one, and we ended up snapping it. Nightmare. It's in there somewhere. Problem. So what I've done is, and obviously again, you can't buy a Panhard gear selector, thing. They're just not available. Couldn't find one second hand. So I ordered this, obviously made by some very happy and well-paid Chinese people, but I think maybe it might be a similar sort of size, and it's going to be too long, I know, but we can just do something with it. It does the same action, I think. It goes in and out, which is exactly what it needs to do. So I've got to try and get this to fit that somehow. It looks very different though. And I think some of the fittings are now broken. Any ideas? So you can see here, this is where this thing, get out of the way. So you can see here, this is where this thing's got to sort of bolt onto, if you like. That end, maybe, I think, probably better than this end, because I don't know, we'll see what the other end's like. But yeah, so it's got to go through there. It's held in by this thing here, so we might have to try and find there's the plate, look. There's a plate there, if you can see, which goes on there and holds it in place. So we'll try and see if we can make that work, because that's exciting. So the reason I want to get this gear selector done first is so we can sort the rest of the sort of running out, give this thing a good service, and then we can go and try and free up the clutch a bit easier by being able to get in and out of gear, which I can't do, and it makes it a problem, So yeah, let's open the dash side and we'll see what's under there. No fresh creepy crawlies in this. That we'll have to dog a 6-inch wood screw through there. How do you get this machine off then? Crosshead screwdriver. I'm gonna have to get inside. Definitely gonna have to make this a bit nicer somehow. Nothing sticks, everything's bloody aluminium. Right, okay. Now I'm going to try and clean up as much of this stuff in here, I'll just sort of rattle can paint these things. Is that a flathead? Is it hand tight? Okay. Lovely. It's a fiberglass. Yeah, I think it is. Cool. Okay. I think the plan might be as well that once I've sort of got this thing running and driving with a clutch and brakes and you know, gears and stuff. I think what we'll do is we'll give it a proper good clean, and we'll start making a list of the jobs that I'm going to need to do. But I think, yeah, a proper good clean will show us what we're going to keep and what we're going to have to burn. Okay, a couple of other comments that were quite cool with some very nice French guys. So if you're watching, thank you very much for commenting, and I've followed your sort of channels and stuff as well about Panhards, and you're all saying how nice and how rare the car is and all this sort of stuff, which is really cool because it is rare. It's got different rear lights which were put on in the, you know, for the UK market, and it's right hand drive. So, you know, I'm going to be quite pleased driving this round. I think it'll be a bit of a head turner, you know. But yeah, nice comments from people. There was a lot of, you know, really good positive comments on the video. Only a couple of bad ones. Okay, so that's that cable there. So how can I get that from out of there? Have I got to go behind it? But if I, how can I get behind it? How's this thing held in? I'm not going to have to take this whole steering column thing off, am I? Oh, please, no, I think I am. I'll get a torch, I'll get back to you. I was actually about to find the nearest bridge and jump off it when I was in there, because I thought, am I going to have to take this whole dashboard apart? And then I remember these things here. Please, God, let this give me access to those 2 bolts. I'm not 100% sure. It looks like it's going to be really far away, but that would be amazing. And why else would it be there? Plus gas. Doesn't sound great, does it? I think whatever the bolt was bolted onto is broken off behind. Great. Ah. Oh, bit of a nest. Oh. Nice. What happened to that then? Ah, wasn't actually a bolt to unscrew, it was just like get it in the right position and pull it out type thing. It's cool. It's great when you don't have a manual, isn't it? I'm going to show you inside there. What in the Father Christmas is all this? Can you just have a look in there, make sure there's no snakes or weevils gonna get me. Henry, dinner time. I hope you're enjoying watching this, because I am not enjoying doing it. Oh my God, Henry's bursting at the seams. Look at that for the Hoover bag, full of Panhard stuff. I've got to try and remember where I put the other Hoover bags now. Sorry Henry, my old mate, it's time to go bagless. What is this insulation from? Is this supposed to be part of the car, or was that insulation originally there and it's just been chewed up, or is it something that mice have dragged in? Because I'm telling you what, there's a lot of it. It's never ending. There's bits of Christmas. There's a bit of a Christmas tree. Oh, a bit of paper. How much is in here? This is insane. Come on. Be reasonable. I have to empty Henry again in a moment. I've genuinely never seen anything like this. This is great. I'm going to be here all day doing this. Just seen another little bit of paper. What does this one say? 127670 gasket, 30p. That's at 10%. That is very old, because we could only dream of that being at 10% now. So cool. Service history, we'll keep that. This is the most hoovering I've ever had to do to a gear linkage. The good news is I can see the end of that gear cable, which is great. The bad news is I've now got coliver. So, it's been nice knowing you. So I don't know if you can see very well in there because it's a bit dark, but right at the back to the right, there's a couple of bolts holding this gear linkage in. So I'd better try and find 6,000 extensions and get that off. No rabies today, thank you. I've managed to unclip this speedo gauge and all sorts of stuff here from behind. So I've managed to push that forward, which means I can get to those bolts nice and easy. Happy days. I'm just going to give it another hoover in there though. And I might try and see if I can remove that in its entirety, because I'd like to see if I can either make this clear again somehow, or if I can find a replacement or something. But I think I might be able to, I don't know, I'll just have a look. If you've got any suggestions of how I could potentially get this yellow bit of plastic clear again, then I'd love to know. I don't know if it's actually possible or not, but we can give it a go. Is it a case of sanding it down and re-lacquering it? I don't know. So the majority of my 10mm sockets have fallen down there, so I'm just taking this brake thing off here, so hopefully I can pull it out a bit and find them, because it's a little bit fiddly to get to. I can't seem to get a purchase on the cable side there. I think the bolts might have been so rusty that they've just sort of rounded really as I've tried to take them off. So I just need to keep trying, and obviously I can't get my head in there, so this is just one of those jobs, you know, a little bit faffy, a little bit things getting in the way. Should be easy, ends up being difficult. Oh, it's all so stuck on. I don't need to get it very far out, and I'm hoping that the pedals aren't stopping it, but I think it's just stuck. Oh, yeah, there's a thick bead of like sealant or something around it. I'm roughly an hour in, and the great news is that I've got one bolt out, but let's try and get this one underneath. You're probably all sitting there going, it's just a 10mm bolt, what's your problem? How can I explain it? Well, the bolt, there's no, look how wide this is, right? and it's just too wide to get on the side of where the bolt goes, so it's always on the piss. And I haven't got anything thinner, so I'm that close to grinding the edges of a 10mm down, just so I can get a solid fix on it, because it's so, you know, rusty and stuck that everything else I'm using, even like the thinner sockets like that, they're just sliding off it. But anyway, I'm not going to let that stop me. Let's just crack on, you know. This is one of those jobs where if you went to a mechanic's and said, can you just change this, and then they said, well, I need to have a look first. You're like, why do you need to have a look first? It's like, well, this is why. I just can't get on the bolt. There's just no room because the cable and the thing. Everything's so sharp and rusty behind here as well. Can't get a purchase on anything, and it's all covered in plus gas, obviously. Just making excuses, aren't I? Just get the bloody bolt out with you. Every time you turn it, it just comes off. Purchase on it. It's too rusty. Slippery. So the good news is I've just felt it release. The bad news is not like I was hoping. For fuck's sake. So it's just sheared off. Look at that for a weird crack. Never seen that before. It's this very brittle old cast aluminium or something, whatever it is. But anyway, that was the problem. It was like facing down like that, and I just couldn't get this socket onto it, and every time I tried to spin it, it just came off because it's rounded and old. Okay, so I might need to like make a new bracket as well. This is going really well, isn't it? Now, this one here, it sits sort of like, that holds that in position there, and then there's this little thing which screws onto the end of that. Little split pin goes through and it holds it in place on the gear change. So that's cool. This side of this new cable just has this hole though. So it would kind of have to live like that. Now, are we going to be lucky enough, and is that going to thread into there? Absolutely not. Okay, so I might just weld that on. I don't know, kind of kills all our adjustment, but yeah, I'll think of something with that. But anyway, that goes on there. This would then go down, and there's no ball on it here. So how am I going to be able to stop that moving and hold it in place because I haven't got this ball? And then this goes onto there, and that one we can make fit because it's on the engine bay side, which is going to be loads easier. So I'm going to have a little bit of a play with this, and then I'll show you what I've come up with. Just pop the safety squints on. Lovely. Old safety squints getting a lot more use today than I thought they would. So I'll put this to its maximumist of travel. I'm not sure why, I've just done that. And then if it's wrong, I can just cut it off and do it lower. Okay. So as you can see, that is now adjustable and just brilliant in every way, I think. Okay, now to work out how I'm going to fix this to the car, now that bracket snapped, and I think it might be easier than we think. I try and keep as much stuff lying around as possible, including random old bits of metal. Now, I don't know where this random old bit of Volkswagen metal came from. I can guess, but I don't know. Now, it's shaped in such a way, I've just been digging through my spares bit there, that I could potentially cut this bit off into a sort of U-shaped here, and then tap a hole through the top of the thing, put a little bolt in there, and then that will hold that cable in place using the 2 nuts that it's got on the thing. So I'm going to give that a go. What's the worst that could happen? That's going to go up through the dash like that, and that's going to connect to the thing. Great. And that bit there is going to attach to the top of the dash bit, like so. And this, look, I've just really neatly cut there, is going to be sandwiched in between these 2 like toothed washers. Grip washers, whatever you want to call them. Like so. And then do these bad boys up. And that's going to hold this thing where I need it to be. Like so. If you can see, I might have to bend it a touch. But that's going to hold that where I need it to be. Tight. It's just genius, isn't it? Really? Right, let's try and install it. Okay. Nice, where's that thing? Just pop that temporarily in there while I find the correct thing. Don't know what I've done with that. And that could live. We could pull it all the way down and we could put a hole straight through here. And that would, let's just try it now. So if I sort of hold that as in place as where it would be, it's working. That's really cool. So what I need to do is just pop a little hole through there. We'll put a nice little fixing into this, whatever it is that plastic? No, metal, bit of aluminium, and then that will keep that cable out of the way of everything else as well, which is super important. Pretty sure I've got the full range of movements there. Don't know how to tell really. Completely eyeballing this, but I can't get anything in there to un-eyeball it, you know. Perfection as usual. Fantastic. Right, and then that goes on there. How am I going to tighten that up though? I don't know. Oh god. Don't fall. Oh, super-tastic. Look at that. E1, E1. Should I have put a washer on there? What are washers even for? Quite pleased with that. The hard side is all buttoned up. Now this side here, I've essentially got to attach that bit there into that loop there, just with a little split pin, so that's dead straightforward. But this bit here is far away from where it needs to lock. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting that in the right place and then just building like a little L bracket between these two and then bolting them each side, and then that should keep it in the right place. So Dickie's just helped me move the thing while I'm sort of measuring it, you know. And now, what have I got here? So let's try and get 1/2 inch just over on each one there. So So I need to be roughly a couple of inches and drill a hole in each side. And that should give me a bracket which is just the right size to go between the holes and to hold the thing steady. Believe it or not, that's a bracket. Oh, this car likes to swallow 10 mils. Nice. Okay. It's taken me about 4 hours to do this, but that right there I'm hoping is at least first and reverse, because if it is, we're happy days, you know. So I've just been playing with it a little bit more to see what sort of range I've got. I've added in a little spacer there, a little washer, just to sort of make it a bit nicer. Now there's a little bit too much flex, it's not tightened down yet, a little bit too much flex in this. So what I'll have to do at some point is probably just weld in a little couple of pieces on there just to keep it a solid block. But for now, we've got gears. So you can see there's still a little bit of flex there which I'd like to take out, but that is going up and down, and then the side to side will push it along another cog and it'll go up and down again, and I think that's your 3 gears or 4 gears, I don't know, I'm going to have a little bit of a check, and reverse, and then there'll be a neutral in there somewhere as well. I'm not going to really know until we've got the engine running, we've freed the clutch, and I can test out what's doing what. And at that point, I can fine tune all this and just go, right, I need it to come further that way, I need more travel over there, you know, all this sort of stuff. But what I do know for now is that the theory works, and I am going to be able to use this gear linkage cable. The theory though is there. I'm happy with that. I'm going to be able to, when it's all running, use the clutch, which we'll have to free up and get going, and maybe fine fettle how long that bracket is, how much travel we've got there, how much travel we've got there, move it all around, and I can then go, right, okay, well this is first, this is second, this is reverse, this is neutral, that sort of stuff. Can't really do that until we've got the thing moving. There's no like 1, 2, 3, 4 on the gear stick or anything, it's just a lump of very petrified plastic. But I'm dead pleased with that. That was the sort of biggest hassle really, was just trying to find out if we can get a gear linkage that'll work for this, and thankfully this Chinese thing has kind of worked, so I'm happy. I'm just going to tidy everything up, and then I think that's it for the day. Good as new.
I thought you got your wallet still.
So there we go. That was a long and slightly awkward day, just getting everything off and getting that thing fitted, but I'm glad we did it because that was the sort of more headachy part of going, right, how am I going to, is a universal kit car gear linkage going to work? And well, it did, kind of, I think. I need to get it running and make sure, but it's changing gear, which is exactly what we wanted. So what I'm going to do next is get some help from a friend, and then we're going to try and get this clutch unstuck. In the meantime, I've taken some measurements off brake master cylinder and all this sort of stuff. So the next episode, I'll be making sure we've got some form of brakes, changing all the wheel cylinders, changing the master cylinder, a couple of other little bits like that. And then we'll get it going again. I've got some service bits I can put on as well, and we'll try and free this clutch up. And then when we've done that, we can see if all this gear stuff's working. But for now, headache over on that. And thanks again for the great comments on the last episode of this. Fantastic to read through, and a lot of you were behind me in what I want to do, and I thank you for it, so that's great. And there was a lot of other comments saying, why don't you just give it to someone that will do a proper job? Oh, I don't want to give this car to someone to do for it to just sit in their garage for 100 years. I don't want to do that. It's my car. I want to enjoy it, you know. I rescued it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this thing back on the road and keep this pretty wicked patina as well. I'm excited to see what it looks like all polished up. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. And if you want to see this car get back on the road, make sure you're subscribed and all that sort of good stuff. And over the next, it's going to be a long process, you know. That little job there was one job of 1,000 and it took me all day. It's going to be a long process, maybe, I don't know, well, a long time before this thing is on the road exactly how I wanted it to be. But it's going to be fun getting there. And I hope you can join me. See you next time.